Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by Apex Irons from Callaway.
Hello, I'm Anna Whiteley and welcome to Golf Central on YouTube. The LPGA kicks off next week at the Diamond Resorts Tournament of Champions. This unique event brings together the best on the LPGA with big-name celebs and athletes. Two-time defending champion John Smoltz returns to the field seeking the three-peat. He joined Damon Hack and Shane Bacon to discuss the state of his game and a little baseball.
What's the state of your game right now?
Well, you know what's interesting is during this difficult time that everybody's been under, golf's been a savior, right? So I sat only because I've been able to play a ton of golf with the fact that you would think playing a ton of golf would get you better. But I'm anxious, as I always am, when I get to a tournament, because when something counts, I want to be at my best. So I would say my game is ramping up to where I want it to be with this, opportunity to defend again. This is going to be pretty cool. And I know a lot of people that have been in a tournament are gunning. And that last person on the list, Annika, is going to be as tough as nails. I don't care that she hasn't competed in a long time. She is absolutely a joy to play with, and she's going to be fun to compete against.
John, I think every golfer on the planet would love for Tiger Woods to say something positive about their golf game. There was a quote I found that ran in Golf Digest about you, and Tiger said that he believed you'd be one of those players that he feels like could go out there and compete on the senior tour. Now, having done that, how was the experience getting out there and playing against the seniors at that 2018 U.S. Senior Open?
Well, obviously I was overmatched at that point, but I learned a lot about my game. My schedule is crazy, and I would love to have a little bit of time to practice to get ready for tournaments. But because I have a unique opportunity to play in some of those, my job comes first with Fox and MLB Network. And that U.S. Open experience, I truly believe, made me a better golfer. There are things I definitely know I do wrong, and there are some things physically I have to fix. But until then, I love to compete. And what I have is what I have in my golf. Sometimes it's not. But, I've always been a fierce competitor that if I cleared my schedule and had an opportunity to work on some things, I would love to see how far I could take my golf game. But that's neither here or there right now. I still have a job to do and want to do that first. And getting a chance to play golf is just a treat anywhere, anytime, and anyhow.
I also heard a rumor that you one time threw BP to Tiger Woods. Can we get a little breakdown of Tiger Woods' baseball swing, how that looked?
Yeah, so he wanted to do this for years, and I was like, I don't know if we can pull this off. And I just happened to have a rehab situation where everybody was gone from the park. I said, all right, Tiger, you can come and take 4 swings or, pretend like it's in a game. I'm going to be throwing like it's a game. And he took the batting practice. I was concerned back then about not me hitting Tiger. I wasn't going to hit him. It was just jamming his thumb or catching one, with golfers. I was like, are you sure you want to do this? And obviously he's so competitive. We play ping pong. It doesn't matter what the sport, he wants to compete. And it was a competitive swing. When you think about trying to face a 95-mile-an-hour fastball or a 90-mile-an-hour slider, I think he got a little frustrated at the end when I was trying to lay it in there a couple times in his 4th at bat. But he declared himself 1 for 4 with a walk. Brian McCann was a young catcher, was afraid to call strikes, which I got mad at. But all in all, it was a good time. It was fun. It was something we'll always be able to talk about for the rest of our lives.
What do players want? I know you appreciate what they do and their great gifts and their consistency, but I'm just curious, what are they asking you about your own tremendous athletic career?
I think the biggest thing is under the gun in the moment of pressure and what it's like to deal with the kind of pressure. You see the elite group of athletes in all sports. They usually have a common denominator when it comes to pressure and it comes to being able to be quieter or calmer in the moment. And I think a lot of people tend to, as they get into the level they want to get to, they go too fast. We all experience that. I think some of those things from the mind games of what it was like to compete, whether it's in a Game 7 or when it's the biggest moment of our sport. And I love competing and talking about competing with other athletes in their own sphere of how, because golf is so unique, right? It's the self and own pressure you put on yourself because you really don't have teammates to bail you out or mess things up. So it's unique in itself. I never used to understand coming down the stretch how people could feel the way they feel about a particular shot that they've made 100 times or 1,000 times until you go through that unfamiliar moment. And that US Open for me was that unfamiliar moment. And so I learned a lot from that.
Good stuff. And as we continue our discussions on race and sports in America, we were very pleased to be joined by Hall of Famer and NBC Football Night in America analyst Tony Dungy to get his perspective on what's going on in the country.
Tony, we appreciate your time. You know, you grew up in a time of racial tension in our country, in Michigan, following the death of Martin Luther King Jr., for example, and Bobby Kennedy. How does the tenor of the country today compare to those times?
You know, strangely, Damon, it's very similar. I remember 1968. Well, I was a 12-year-old boy in a little automotive town in Michigan. You mentioned Dr. King, Bobby Kennedy. In September, the 68 Olympics, Tommy Smith and John Carlos in the 200-meter finals. And I remember talking to my dad about that and what is going on, and my dad having to explain to me. And, you know, that, hey, there aren't opportunities for everyone everywhere. And watching George Wallace on TV say, we'll never have Negro students at the University of Alabama. And it's hard to believe now, but that was the tenor of the times. And now we see things happening that remind us of that and remind us of a fractured country. But what my dad told us at that time was, we've got to do things to make things better. We can't complain about the situation. We can't get frustrated. What are we going to do to make it better?
What are we going to do to make it better?
Well, I think it's got to be understanding each other, being more inclusive, and opening our minds and saying, you know what, if we don't utilize all of our resources, if we don't utilize everybody, if we don't come together, we're never going to be as strong a country as we can be. We're not going to be as strong a sports team as we can be. And I remember, and I said it in my Hall of Fame remarks, coming into the National Football League as a young player, there were only 10 African-American assistant coaches in the entire league. 18 teams did not have one African-American staff member. 10 teams had one. And it was strange. It was different. But moving forward, what can we do? And for me, that involved trying to climb up the ladder and trying to open up some opportunities for other people.
You know, Tony, I have good friends, you know, good people who say, Damon, I don't use the N-word. I didn't own any slaves. I'm tired of talking about race. What do you say to them?
Race is part of the environment in our country, and we have to embrace the topic, and we have to work our way through it. And if that is you, then you may have to help some other people get through it. I have to help other people get through it, and we have to look at the other side of things. I know I tell people all the time when they say, what can I do? Well, I think it starts with your family and your circle of friends and where you have influence. And talking to them. I talk to my kids about race and about what we can do and how we can be better in our community. And then I talk in my circle of influence. For me, for a long time, it was my teams and my staff. Well, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to handle things. Here's how we're going to try to improve the situation. And I think that's where we are as a country right now. We've got to do it step by step, starting in our small circles first.
Tony, you know, there's so many athletes out there that have a voice and they do amazing things with it. I mean, across the board, you go football, basketball, baseball, otherwise, everybody will speak up. But there's some people that maybe don't feel comfortable speaking up, or maybe it's not in their DNA, yet they have the platform to do so. What do you say to athletes and even Americans that maybe feel like they want to say something but aren't sure how to?
You know, I go back to my dad again, and he said, hey, we'll have people speaking, and we'll have people that are in the legislative branch trying to change things, and we'll have all, but what can I do? What is my gift? And for my dad, that was teaching. And he said, you know what? I know what I can do. I can teach school very well, and I can educate people. So whatever your niche is, it may not be speaking up. It may not be using your voice. It may be doing something in the community. And we need that too. So don't feel like, well, I've got to talk or I've got to do this. do what you can do to make things better. I've had players down here in Tampa that played for me with the Bucks, and part of their initiative was, hey, I'm going to the Boys and Girls Club. I'm going to be a uniter in the community, and we need all of that.
Tony, we're a golf show, and one of my favorite questions to ask anybody that's been in and around sports over the years is, how did you get into golf? And there's so many different ways. Obviously, some people, start playing when they're 8 years old, and some people don't start playing until they're 35. So to you, how did you get interested in golf, and when was that?
My dad enjoyed golf, and he took me and he taught me how to play when I was very young. I didn't play a lot when I was young, but I enjoyed learning from him. I got down here to Tampa, and I met a bunch of guys who were caddies, and they kind of taught me how to play once I got down here and became an adult.
Golf Central on YouTube, brought to you by Apex Irons from Callaway.